Are you still wondering how much you need to be eating every day? Are you concerned that you're eating too much or too little to support your energy needs? And are you still gaining weight as a menopausal woman? The minute you cross that threshold into menopause, did your weight start to skyrocket? Are you still wondering how much you should be eating? I mean, we were taught low-calorie dieting. Eat small meals throughout the day to stoke your metabolism. Well, that's not reality. And when you're in menopause and you're dealing with metabolic issues like prediabetes and toxic overload, well, let me tell you, you need answers. I'm Connie Rutledge. I'm a functional nutritionist. I'm a menopausal fat loss specialist, and I want to help you. Today, we're gonna go over your recipe for success and figure out what you should be eating and how much, and get that macronutrient ratio. I mean, that's everything. When you understand your macronutrients and you understand how much you should be eating to sustain your body so it doesn't feel like it's starving and your metabolism is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, then you will be successful at maintaining fat loss. Because let's face it, you know how to lose weight. Maybe it's not working for you right now, but you know how to lose weight. And when you're discouraged because you've tried everything and maybe you haven't tried it for long enough, but you feel like you're doing all the right things, chances are you don't have your recipe for success. And I want to help you understand exactly what you need nutritionally, macronutrient-wise, to stoke the fire, have metabolic flexibility, and be able to enjoy a body that looks and feels like you want it to look and feel. Of course, when we go over macronutrient needs and figure out your unique macronutrient ratio, it's going to depend on a lot of different factors. I mean, how active are you? How much inflammation do you have? How healthy are you? When you know the answers to those questions, we can tally up how many carbohydrates, how many protein grams, how many fat grams are going to help you feel your best. Then you have a fighting chance at fat loss. I mean, so many of us have been eating too little, or we're going in fits and starts where we're, really compliant with a low-calorie diet, even prioritizing protein. And then the wheels fall off and we're back eating foods we know aren't healthy, but we just can't sustain that level of compliancy. We can't be good anymore. You just kind of give up because you don't feel like you're getting anywhere. I get it. But once you dial in your macros and once you make up your mind and have all the things, all the ducks in a row, then I feel like you might have a fighting chance. That's what we do in the Jumpstart session. But I'm gonna give you a little treat. We're gonna calculate together what your macros should be. And you can get started eating really delicious whole foods that will support your system and maybe allow your body to become metabolically efficient. So you're not needing to eat as often. And you're not feeling like you can't stick to your diet because you feel pretty darn good. So let's get started. Well, this is gonna be fun. So I'm really excited for you to have the right fuel mix for you, for your size, for your activity level, and hopefully get a real jump on fat loss. So take your calculator and times your body weight. So how many pounds are you weighing right now? And times that number by 0.2 to 0.5, and you can take your pick, whether you want to go somewhere in the middle of maybe 0.4, and that will equal your carbohydrate grams. And that might seem low, but if you're getting enough protein and fat, then you should feel okay with that number. And maybe it's somewhere between 30 and 60. And that's gonna help with fat loss for sure. So then we take how much you weigh, that number, and times it by 0.5 to 0.9. And that's gonna equal how many grams of protein you might want to shoot for. It's going to seem like a high number, especially those that have been eating very few grams of protein per day. You're going to gulp, and you're not going to believe how many grams of protein that the calculator says you should be eating for fat loss. But trust the process. Okay. Next, we want to look at how much fat you should be eating, and we'll take your weight and times it by 0.42. And I'll kind of keep it right about there. And that will equal how many grams of fat that you want to kind of shoot for in a day. So take a minute, whether you got to pause the video or you're going to take notes and go down and go back and do that for yourself. But that is your macronutrient ratio calculator that I utilize in my jumpstart sessions to kind of arrive at a guideline. And that's just it. We arrive at a guideline. Now, of course, together, when we're one-on-one, we're going to dial in a little bit more specifically, doing some other calculations with the amount of exercise you're doing, the level of inflammation that you have, and how long you've been struggling and how you've been struggling. That is a whole nother feature in, a whole nother benefit of doing a jumpstart session with me is you get that specified help in arriving at a real stable number so that you can feel extremely supported and comfortable creating your diet plan. Now, I want to kind of caveat a few of these guidelines because, again, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it and say it and say it. These are guidelines. And when you have been on a low-calorie diet and you have been worried about, staying under 1,200 calories a day, then you're going to have a body that probably has been snacking because you're starving. And when you start eating more significant meals and more significant nutrients at those meals, then you're going to feel satiated and your metabolism is going to heal. That's how it works. Fortunately or unfortunately, you're going to have to appreciate the fact that if you have been eating 30 grams of protein in a day, or even 50 grams of protein in a day, and your macro calculator says you need 100, well, my goodness, that's going to seem unattainable. So what I'm going to suggest is that you slowly increase the amount of protein that you're eating and allow your body to get used to that nutrient and get used to that change and allow your metabolism to heal. Now, chances are, if you double the amount of protein that you've been eating tomorrow, say you're eating 40 grams of protein and you're starving all the time and you're feeling like there's no way you can stick to a clean, healthy food diet, then you increase that amount of protein to about 60 or 70 grams because you're eating maybe an extra chicken breast or another serving of salmon or a steak, and reduce the amount of carbohydrates. So, when you're eating, you're going to be balancing. And if the protein is high, the carbs are going to be very easily lowered because you're going to feel more satiated and full and satisfied because your body has the raw materials to utilize and you're just going to feel more balanced. That's how it works. So I just want to caution you that when you freak out because your macronutrient ratios say this, this, and this, you're feeling, you're already defeated. Well, go easy. Just lean into making some small changes. And if it's tripping you up completely, then let's get in touch. I want to help. I want to help you understand it. Because when hormones are depleted and stress is at an all-time high and you're exhausted and you're not sleeping and things aren't going, as they should, then we want to kind of arrive at that place of food first, let's be clear that we want to nourish you before we can do all the things like the long-term fasting, like the intermittent fasting, like the mono-food diet. All of those tools are going to work great if you are metabolically somewhat stable. If you are exhausted and you can't quite get through the day without sugar, or you have to eat many times during the day, then we need to ease into this whole food macronutrient ratio solution. Okay? Does that help? Good. I also want to just caution that if you haven't been eating high protein, then maybe you might need a digestive enzyme or some apple cider vinegar or some type of digestive aid to help your stomach digest that protein, because it's going to take a little bit more. First of all, you want to chew well, you want to eat slowly, and you want to not be stressed out when you're eating. But you might add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to help with the breakdown. You might add some Swedish bitters. You might want to try a digestive enzyme. And I've got plenty of those suggestions available on my Fullscript account, so you might check there. I also have videos about digestion and help for digestive aids with in previous videos. The next step to this process is you create your meals, you eat those meals, and you don't snack. No snacking. That means no food after that dinner meal. And if that means that you will be uncomfortable and you're used to having a sweet snack or a dessert, then you want to eat that dessert right after dinner. Maybe you wait 15, 20 minutes, but depending on how late you're eating, you want to eat that dessert, whatever it is, whether it's a baked apple or it's some protein pudding or it's some keto type snack that fits in your macros, that you're not, going out and overdoing it, but eat that snack or dessert to top you off at the very end of that dinner feeding window. That's really going to help you. Shut that feeding window down. You can have a cup of tea, you can have some water, but nothing caloric. And that begins that intermittent fasting period. And we need at least 13 to 15 hours between dinner and that first feeding window in the morning. That's really important for a lot of metabolic processes, for a lot of healing. And I really want you to understand that gut health and the body's ability to process and utilize the food that you ate is as much as an important fact as what you eat for fat loss. So I think this goes without saying that processed and packaged foods, sodas, energy drinks, well, they have a negative effect on health. Those things are not food. Okay, they creep in now and then, and sure, once in a while, what the heck. But we want to make sure we minimize those processed foods because of the chemicals and the GMOs and the pesticides that just don't belong in a human body. Okay, we know that. We definitely prefer non-GMO, healthily fed and treated animals. Do the best you can there. I mean, I know that's a big topic, and we need to do the best that we can. But I will say that if it goes between a grass-fed steak, which is just too expensive for your budget, and you opt for pasta, well, that's not a trade-out. So I would rather you do a conventional steak and save and splurge on some better quality meats as often as you can. Let's be clear, we need to watch your insulin, and the proteins are definitely going to take care of that. Make sense? Good. If you're feeling hungry in between meals, that means you need to increase your protein and fats. You might want to supplement with the Perfect Aminos or the Optimal Amino supplement, which is a complete amino acid tablet that is non-caloric, extremely beneficial, and will help you feel better, have better energy, have better integrity for your cells. Your workouts will be better. You'll put on lean muscle mass easier, lose body fat easier. Your hair and your nails will look amazing. Your skin will be, I think it's better than collagen peptides myself because it's a complete protein and it has no impact on your insulin. So I'd say that that's a win-win. Definitely something to consider if you just have trouble getting your protein grams in on a daily basis. I'd say that eating vegetables is essential if you choose to eat vegetables. I mean, if you're not eating processed food and a lot of, grains and things, then you're gonna have to eat vegetables unless you go carnivore, which that's an option. That being said, vegetables are amazing at keeping you satisfied. They can be very tasty, they have great fiber, and I want you to also appreciate the fact that you do need to count those carbohydrates in your carb macros. So appreciating that even a cup of celery has carbohydrates. 1 cup of celery, which is a couple stalks, has 2 net carbs, and that needs to be counted in your macros. You also need to count the electrolyte carbohydrates, the supplement carbs if you're doing gummies or anything else that is flavored. Read the labels. If your electrolyte has 4 carb grams, that needs to go in your macro totals. There is no free lunch. I'm sorry, but let's be reasonable. You want to definitely make sure that you just understand what you're putting in your mouth, because that has an impact on your metabolic health. The good thing about, in my opinion, you understanding your macronutrient ratios is you can choose any style of diet that you choose. I mean, anything you want. If it fits in your macros, well, unless it's Pop-Tarts or Skittles, then it's probably gonna be just fine. If you want potatoes, great. If you want spinach, great. Honestly, so many times I find that my clients are afraid of carbohydrates, but you don't have to be. You just have to know it's dose dependent and appreciate that you get to choose and decide what's right for you. That's so important. I mean, we're at this age, we've gotten this far. Yeah, we get to choose what we want to eat. Now, fruit, that's a whole nother conversation. Certainly you'll count your carbohydrates, and boy, that adds up quick. If you're gonna eat a banana, that banana is about 24 to 27 carbs, and is it worth it? I don't know. Depends on where you are, depends on what your goals are. So just appreciate that the sugars, even in fruit, need to be counted so that you know you can either get into ketosis or get metabolically flexible and enjoy arriving at your goal. That's huge. When we look at the fat macronutrient ratio, understanding that about a tablespoon of olive oil lands at about 10 to 12 grams of fat. A pat of butter is the same, about 10 to 12 grams of fat. And if you need roughly, 60 to 80 grams of fat every single day, that's like 6 tablespoons, not counting the steak that you're eating. If you have a ribeye, you're gonna have a good amount of fat in that food. But appreciating that by increasing, even by a tablespoon, you add a tablespoon of butter, you add an extra tablespoon of olive oil if you're having salad dressing or over your, steamed vegetables. That's gonna go very far in helping you remain satiated so that you feel like you're not needing a snack or you're not needing extra sugar. And we have been so conditioned to fear fat that I just want to remind you, fat has no impact on your insulin. And that's what we're really concerned with. We're concerned with keeping your insulin low so that your body can tap into stored fat for fuel instead of glucose, the carbohydrate, right? You're gonna watch your sauces, you're gonna make sure that your fats are clean, no trans fats, no hydrogenated fats that are harmful. The soybean oil, the canola oil, all of those oils that are not cold pressed are toxic and will cause mad inflammation. You also want to be concerned with artificial sweeteners. Something in a Diet Coke really can mess with you. Stevia would be my preferred sweetener, and don't go overboard. It can really kind of just mess with your process. Try and reduce the amount of stevia that you use, possibly in your coffee or your tea, and just see if that makes a difference. Dairy is something that is up to you. I mean, you might tolerate it, you might not. Obviously, we want to choose organic and full-fat dairy so that you get all the benefits of the protein and fats to make you feel satiated and full. I love Greek yogurt. It works well for me. In the beginning of my fat loss journey, it didn't work. I avoided it for about, I think, 3 months, and it was a game changer. I couldn't believe it. I know what I know, and I thought I was doing okay, but I think it has to do with the level of inflammation. And once you kind of get rid of that, then your body can deal with it. And now I'm fortunate enough to be able to have my protein pudding with full fat Greek yogurt, organic. Sometimes I use the A2 Greek yogurt just because, but I mix that with my prime protein powder and have a delicious protein dessert right after a meal, typically. Like today, I had 2 burger patties and my protein pudding. Had a few strawberries in my protein pudding and a few, I think it was almonds, slivered almonds. And boy, I'm satiated, I'm full. It's late in the afternoon, and that's what I had for food today. I'll have a healthy dinner and be very satisfied. Oh, and I also wanted to mention that interestingly enough, in the recent past, I didn't get my protein in. I think I had a small, I was busy, and I fasted a little bit longer. And so it was mid-afternoon and I had a leftover chicken thigh. It was a pretty good sized chicken thigh in the refrigerator. I had a chicken thigh with a carrot and some olives, which is pretty typical for me. Except, you know what? That chicken, it wasn't a strong enough protein, and I just didn't get enough. So boy, did hunger hit me about 5 o'clock, about dinner time. I had had a good workout. I had had a busy day, so my brain was ready for some fuel. And I was ridiculously craving carbs. I wanted chips, I wanted bread, I wanted a cocktail. I couldn't get full. And it's just a reminder, and it happens to me, just a reminder that without adequate protein, you're gonna suffer. And your body's gonna try and get more fuel. And when it really needs more fuel, it's gonna go for the sugar. It's gonna say, okay, cookies, get cookies, we need fuel, we need sugar. That's gonna be the quickest way to feel better. So just appreciate that fact. And that's no place to be when you want fat loss, trust me. So how should you be feeling after a meal? You should be feeling physically pretty satisfied, not stuffed, just kind of pleasantly full. Your energy levels should be good. You shouldn't feel like you need a nap after every meal? If you do, chances are you've eaten too many carbohydrates. You should have improved well-being. You should feel really good after a quality meal. And you shouldn't have sweet cravings. So I want you to check about 20 to 45 minutes after a meal and appreciate what's happening. What's the message that your body's giving you? Because that's a real good indicator of how that meal fueled your body, okay? If you're stuffed and you're, craving carbs an hour after that meal, chances are you didn't get your fuel mix right and you need to go back to the drawing board and try maybe a little more fat or a stronger protein. Instead of white fish, you do dark meat chicken, or instead of dark meat chicken, you do a hamburger patty or a ribeye. Honestly, give it a try and let your body tell you what it needs. That's kind of not intuitive eating, but that's paying attention to what message your body's giving you. You're in your body. Listen to what it's saying, okay? That's important. So these are just a few tips and tricks and secrets to fat loss for menopausal women. I really hope this makes sense to you. It's what we do in the Jumpstart. It's a small piece of what we do in the Jumpstart. I really want you to understand that, we used to count calories, but that didn't work. Now we need to count macros. And between macros and meal timing, you'll have your answer. You'll be better, you'll have better success, and you'll feel better because you'll have control, finally. All right. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you next time. Come for the fat loss, stay for the longevity. Hey, we're not getting any younger. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.